So welcome again to Hearts for another conversation with a beautiful soul who I have known for a few years now. And thank you, Noelle, so much for coming along and sharing some of your wisdom with us today. So this is Noelle Brevet. She is Bowen by Noelle, and she offers a number of different modalities. She is an amazing healer. And she does some incredible work on facial structures for the women amongst us who actually need just a little bit of pampering as well. But it does definitely have other benefits. So Noelle, can I just ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me. So yes, I'm Noelle. Actually, I'm not Bowen by Noelle anymore. I'm noellebrevet.com because I cover more than Bowen now. So, but yeah, I'm a Bowen therapist, and I've been trained by you a few years ago, and I do also energy work, Reiki, and something called access bars. Access consciousness. And recently I've added face sculpting, face massage, and face sculpting, which I'm discovering is essentially Bowen for the face, for the neck and the face. It's fascia release for targeted at the face for aesthetic purpose, but also I'm finding out also to release trauma and all sorts of things that we hold in our face as well.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because a lot of us, that's how we interact with the world, isn't it? Through our faces. Yeah. So there'll be an awful lot coming back at us that we're absorbing and maybe not even realizing. So I've seen photos, of course, of people who've come to you before they've had the treatment and after, and the effect of it is astounding in terms of the appearance of the skin and actually just how light and happy everybody looks afterwards.
Yes. Well, actually, I'm discovering as well as I go that it's more than just aesthetic. It's actually how people feel when they come out of the room. Like they not only look lifted and detoxed and everything, but they also I call it's a massage for the brain, a massage for the nervous system, because it's just alleviating the mood, and it's been proven as well that it can alleviate mild depression, because we work so close to the nervous system, really. I think that's really releasing a lot of unwanted it's releasing a lot, basically,
all our baggage, under eye baggage.
Yes. And sometimes people have breakthroughs as well, while on the table. So that's actually more than just a face sculpting. It's more than just aesthetic. It's
I know that I came before you actually did the face sculpting. Before you'd done that, you did what was the other thing you were doing?
So like a face massage.
That was beautiful.
What I do now is more in depth. It's more fascia release on the face. What I used to do was more different, but nice as well.
Still beautiful. And
which I mix both now. So yeah.
Well, I think that's what I really am trying to get to with doing these conversations with people is, it doesn't really matter about the modality, because the path you've taken to get to where you are now is what you offer when people come and see you. So you're not just doing one thing, you're doing all of the things that you've ever experienced and learned, and you're sharing. Really, essentially, I feel like what you're doing is you're offering yourself.
Yes, and that's what I find out as well, is that with every body work, whether it's Bowen therapy or face massage, the energy work comes in as well. And so it's more than body work again. It's like the energy gets turned on through my hands, and it gets passed on. So that's why it's such a holistic experience, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's energy work as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so apart from all of that you offer, which is a lot, you're also a mum to two children, and you have been doing that on your own for a long time. So you're a pretty amazing mum.
Thank you. Yes, quite a long time, forever actually. Yeah, that's actually what started my kind of my awakening after a really bad traumatic separation and divorce. I just fell into like rock bottom basically, where I had to look after two babies and pretty much on my own. Not in my own country as well. I'm from France and all my family live there. So yeah, yeah, I had to, it was like now in retrospect, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because that just it was the catalyst for my awakening and for to put me into this field of discovering who I was, because I was pretty asleep up until then, going through life, being unaware, and that just woke me up basically.
That's a
And
pretty
that's
rude awakening.
yes, but sometimes I think that's how the universe works. Sometimes you really need, which yeah, I wish it didn't happen, but that's my story, and that was a big earthquake that made me go on to another path.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of needed that to really wake me up, and it forced me to discover meditation, because I was just so I just I was in such a state that I needed something to help me along the way. So, and that's when I discovered meditation and yoga, and then energy work, and that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so when you first came out to New Zealand, was that just a holiday?
Yes, it was a working holiday visa. So, I just wanted to learn English and go overseas as far as I could go from France. So I think I did well with New Zealand. And yeah, and that's where I met my ex-husband. And that determined my it changed my life basically, because as a result I decided to create my life in New Zealand, and stay in New Zealand
Yeah.
as a solo parent as well.
Yeah.
But again, now in retrospect, I understand why this all happened, and why I needed to be here. And yeah, I don't think I would have had this awakening if I hadn't been here. That makes sense. Yeah.
And so for you, I mean, I've known you since about 2018,
Mhm.
and I know that soon after I met you, um, we went to the spiritualist church, and your light language had just come through all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
that was pretty remarkable, wasn't it? It was pretty fast and pretty
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah. Yes. So my good friend Millie Rose, she went into this Judy Satori retreat, which I really wanted to go to as well, but didn't make it because obviously, solo parent and all of this. And then she came back from the retreat, and it was as if she downloaded everything she got from the retreat onto me. And then I think it was about 2 weeks later, or the most 3 weeks later, I poured out, my light language came through out of the blue just one night as I was just, relaxing. And I just like started speaking light language just like that. And I was like, oh, what is that? And yeah, so it was clearly an activation of, a direct activation. And I know that it happened to other people. I think that happened to you as well.
Yeah, but I took a lot longer. But I
Mm,
think because I saw what happened to you and Mel, I
mm,
was like, okay, I take a long time to process things and I like things to be gentle.
mm,
And I was seeing the energy, like this excess energy that was coming through. And I was like, I just don't know that I could cope with that.
yeah.
So, I think almost through self-determination, I managed to slow that down by quite a long time. But yeah, I was really like your language is beautiful and it's quite different to almost everybody else's that I've heard.
Mm.
And when it started, it's just, I don't know, it just feels like champagne bubbles in a bottle.
Yeah, it's very fast. It's very fast, and it's very insectoid, and I feel really quite close to mantis beings, like it, because it does feel like, and I don't really like insects, so that's like it's weird.
I suppose
But
it's
actually,
probably ate all the other insects.
yeah, yes, but actually, Prementus, I've always had, when you look at them, you just look at them from different angles, and the head moves, and I always found that really fascinating. Like, and they're quite beautiful, they're like bright green, and yeah, it's very strange. But it was quite an amazing experience that that it just came through without me even asking, like it just poured out of me, and that's how I know it's authentic, because I wasn't trying to force it or anything like that. It was just yeah, and I do feel it was very healing for me. It came through for my own healing,
Mm.
because
Do you think that's the case do you think that's the case with light language? Because I am more of the mind that your voice is healing for you, and so your light language is healing for you. But I feel like when they hear it or they think that it's starting to activate something, there's often a focus on how it sounds
Mm,
and how it affects other people. And it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't about everybody else.
yes, yes, that's right, because sometimes it can sound so foreign and so weird that people are just a bit taken aback, and they don't really know how to react.
Mm.
And also, I am a little bit self-conscious as well. So when I use it in public, or not in public, but with other people, then, or when it comes through, then I am conscious that it sounds very, a little bit weird. So
It's
so
totally.
I love using it for myself. So I think it came through for me, for my own healing, um,
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful.
because it doesn't really come through in my treatments. Like I don't get the urge to speak it when someone's on the table, or I've never had the rush of heat or sweat that goes with it. It's just it comes for me when I'm a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious, often in the car.
Right, yeah.
Just comes, and yeah, and I feel like it's soothing and healing for me
Mhm.
more than anything.
And so when I met you and that kind of happened, what else was going on for you at that time? Because I remember it seemed like we went to a spiritualist church for I can't remember what they call that now. Um
Oh, a medium, like a live medium, or
Live medium, but it was actually with bringing through Yeah. I mean, there were children in the room playing, and you know,
Yes.
there was, it was quite an. Oh, actually, that was later. Sorry, that was the other one. We went to the live medium first,
Yeah.
and 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 I didn't know you really well then, so I was always intrigued by how that had all just come through really quickly. Like before that happened, what was your kind of spiritual practice, or were you not really focused on it?
So yeah, I was doing a lot of meditation. So I started my journey with actually with meditation. That really what opened me up. Um, and I think I did Reiki one like before or at the same time. I'm not sure. I was doing my Reiki training.
Mhm.
Um, and also what you were doing channeling with Millie, and
That was
then
later, yeah. Well, that was just because she had the activation and the energy was so out of control. And so I ended up being, the person that could sit with her and ground and do the protection so that we were in that together. But that happened, I mean, that was all very fast, wasn't it? Without
Mm,
it's like
yes,
I met you guys and then like 3 weeks later she went off to the retreat. Few weeks after that, I met you, your language was there. And then I
mm,
think before Christmas, we'd already started the channeling, and that
mm.
had all kicked off in November or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so before that, I was just doing my meditation. I was just like really meditating quite a lot because I was getting so much healing from meditation as well, and I was I realized that I wasn't alone, that I was starting to communicate with my guides and having real breakthroughs after breakthroughs. Like it was like quite every week I'd have a breakthrough, and I was like, oh my god, like healing myself, healing my I mean, it's never finished, but I think I had a massive meditation opened me to my own healing. And then it was like quite fast for a while. Like I was having really quite intense breakthroughs and realizations. And I did some work with a psychosynthesis psychologist as well. So I
Okay.
was doing that at the same time as well. And yeah, so it was like massive self-healing was happening
Yeah.
just before I met you, I suppose. And then yeah, and then everything
It kicked off.
followed. Yeah.
And so tell me, how did the meditation come to, like, where did you start? Because I think there's lots of people who are very spiritual and are very open, but there's a lot of people I know who don't actually meditate,
Mm,
and don't meditate in the sense of sitting down in stillness. They may reach a meditative state by doing, something like running or, something active. But
mm.
how did that kind of come into your life?
So I studied yoga. I started to also in just yeah, to get out of this hole I was in. I actually started with yoga. A friend of mine introduced me to yoga, so I
Okay.
went and I loved it. And then my teacher at the time was always doing a bit of meditation at the beginning of a class and at the end. So that's what got me started into meditation. And then I was researching and I found this lady called Rebecca Campbell. She's quite famous, and I read her book. I think that's Light is the New Black, or Black is the New Light, whatever. Light is the New Black, or something like that. And I was just like, oh, like it was like for me that was like a marker moment. Like I just read her book and I was like, she said you should make meditation a compulsory thing. It's just like brushing your teeth, basically. And that really resonated with me. Like I was like a non-negotiable thing every day, whether it's 10 minutes or an hour. I had to do it. So I did that, and it was amazing. Um, I'm not so rigorous these days, but it was like I made it, I made it a non-negotiable thing to do every day.
Yeah. And
And
that's
that
pretty
really,
massive with two kids.
yes, so I was doing that at night. So after they'd gone to bed, I made sure that was my meditation time, because I'm not a morning person. So I wish I was, but I wish I could get up at 5 and be fine, but I'm not a morning person. So I was doing it at night, but at least I was doing it. So yeah, and it actually saved me, because yeah, it actually really saved me, really.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
lovely that it came through, and that just through yoga you were open to
Mm.
that. Because there's so many different ways out there for people to get into meditation. And there's so many different styles of meditation too. And I often meet people and they say, "What kind of meditation do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just sit down and I meditate." I don't know. I just always did. I did do a course of meditation when I was pregnant with my first son.
Mhm.
And that was through the oh, all my words are going. Hare Krishna.
Oh
It
yeah.
was through the Hare Krishna Society, and so I was doing that while I was pregnant. But I didn't actually continue with that in a regular way. It was much later that I came back to it. So it is
Mm.
nice that there's so many different ways to come to it and so many different ways to practice. And now you can pretty much go online, can't you, and find
Yeah.
meditations just to listen to, or a way to talk yourself through it.
Mm. And also, I think yoga is amazing as well, because it was Iyengar yoga as well, so it's very slow movements, and it is a meditation in itself,
Yeah,
because you tune in into your body, and you're really becoming really in tune with your physical body as well. So
yeah,
it's really yeah. I thought I think that was the best way to start learning yoga, because yeah, it was and my teacher, like, was amazing as well. Um, Marcia, she's Brazilian, and she's passionate about yoga, and she really um, transfer transfer her passion for yoga onto her students.
yeah.
I have to thank her for for helping me out in my journey, really, as well.
Well,
Yeah,
it's lovely. I can feel that.
yeah, yeah.
And you said you're working with a, now tell me what kind of psychologist, psychotherapist do we use?
It's called psychosynthesis, which is I don't really know how to describe it, but it's not your traditional psychology. I mean, I have had traditional psychology sessions as well, which have not been good. I haven't found helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so psychosynthesis is more, in a way, a little bit more spiritual. Um, it's broader, and it's accepting of spirituality as well, I guess.
Yeah,
Some psychologists really refusing. I mean, from my limited experience, it was just too clinical.
yeah,
I was looking for something, yeah, something a bit more spiritual, I suppose.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think there's so much variety again, isn't there, with any kind of the psychology sciences, that
Mm.
they are very in the mainstream. There's a pathologizing of any kind of spiritual aspect, because if you are hearing voices, which may, there's
Mm.
different schools of thought, but if you are having visions, or you know getting downloads, say, that can easily be pathologized into a mental illness, and then you
Okay.
come under a completely different. Yeah, I mean, that's actually quite terrifying, because when you're working with a holistic therapist, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yes, and I think they're a little bit more in touch with their bodies as well. You know, it's a bit more like, you know, how does it feel in your body? Where do you feel the emotion? You know, it's you know, going back to your inner child. You know, it's way more. It just, yeah, it just goes deeper.
Yeah,
Um,
very somatic. So
yeah.
you're actually, really you're describing a journey through your body into your spiritual self.
Mm,
Because everything that you've done, it seems like you do go through your body first. So, um,
mm,
do you think that's why you still work? Because I know you're an incredible energy healer, but
mm.
do you think that's why you still, you know, lean towards doing the physical as well?
Yeah, that's interesting because, well, I came across Bowen therapy, well, with Melly, but also when COVID hit, I lost my job in the tourism industry, and you were teaching, and so I thought, oh, what am I going to do? And I thought, oh, well, you know, you were just gonna start a course, so I thought I'm gonna try that because you know, I was doing energy healing, like starting energy healing Reiki, but I thought, oh, I may as well learn something because I had, you know, I wasn't had no jobs and we didn't know how long for, so. And so I learned, although it was really daunting at the time to touch another body, and I'd never done that before. But I just loved it. I was just like, I just developed such a passion for touching body, like touching a body,
Yeah,
and I went, you know, like the face massage is even like it's a massage, so I'm touching, you know, a neck and face with oil, and so. And the funny thing is that I've never been a touch person. Like in my family, we've never really, you know, touch is not really something that I grew up with. So I'm really quite surprised at you know, what I've chosen and how much I love it,
yes,
because it's not something I've had in my childhood, or you know, that's something and now I just, you know, I just love it. So yeah, that's interesting. Um,
yeah. I'm just having this great, like, oh, notice that getting all these little pieces into the puzzle. So, because there is a man called Trevor Wee in Australia, and I actually brought him up in the conversation with Erica, and I mispronounced his name. Um, and actually, it was even Dale Holmes and Madeline, and I can't remember her last name, from Sky to Earth conference, and they were speaking at the conference I went to over, or the festival I went to over in Australia. And one of the things they said is, don't let country get lonely. And that's, talking about going out onto the land and being involved with nature. And I'm listening to you talking about, coming into that space of working in a very physical way with people when you haven't had that. And I feel like even your body, when you are bereft of physical contact,
mm,
um, or not as much physical contact as you might desire, it's probably a bit like how the earth feels, right? When nobody comes and visits.
yeah.
And I'm just thinking, well, when you're a single mum too, and I was for a while, you do have the physical touch with your children,
Mm,
but because there's so many jobs to do, it can sometimes get lost, like the beauty of that sometimes is a little bit rushed. And I think when you're on your own, you know, the lack of physical touch with a partner can
yeah.
be quite a lonely experience. So similarly, I think, going through the body to help other people is so important, because there's a lot of people in the world who don't experience loving caring touch.
Yeah, that's right. And we are social creators. We do need touch. Like,
Yeah.
I do believe that we do need, physical touch. Um,
Yeah, me too. More, and I'm just, sorry, I went off on a tangent with that, but I'm just like, oh, of course, like we need it.
yeah,
And actually, the body of our Mother Earth needs it, and all of nature is reaching out to us.
yeah,
Yeah, what a beautiful little expansion on something.
yeah, yeah. And seeing how people respond as well to, because during COVID, of course, we were, none of this could happen, right? The massage, the touch, like, so.
Yeah, they took it away from us.
Yeah, so I was lucky to be confined with my kids. So I guess, but the people who lived alone, um, I can't imagine how difficult it was, because as sentient beings, as physical beings, we do need that touch. We yeah,
I wonder, and I think because it makes us so much safer in the world when we have, good touch. Um, I've come across quite a number of people who were alone during the lockdowns, and
mm.
they are still very traumatized by that experience.
Yes, in fact, I had a mom who rang me this week, and she brought her 15-year-old son to try energy work. And she said, since COVID, he was. I mean, that's not we're talking about touch here, but if we talking about the effects of what this whole thing has done.
Isolation.
Yeah, massive impact on her 15-year-old son, which has developed now really high anxiety. Yeah, and so we did an access bars session on him, and he really responded really well. He was really agitated at the start, and then about 10-15 minutes in, he just fell asleep. And yeah, it was like quite because it's light touch around the head, so it's still touch.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like switching off the nervous system. And anyway, yeah, I'm going off a tangent here, but
No, I love that. I was just going to ask actually to explain about how it works, because I've seen, um, I, don't- I think you've given me a little bit when I came to you, but I did work beside a woman who was offering access bars in a PHA type setting. And yeah, and what came to me was just how centered and calming it was, because there was just that touch around the head. It wasn't like you were moving through the whole body, which has its benefits, but for something like that,
yeah,
yeah, especially I think the isolation and the lack of touch in that time and that trauma that's built up, I'm feeling it must have really created a sense of fear in people. So
yeah,
these poor kids.
yes. And I wonder how many, because not a lot of people, because I was surprised, that they reach out to an energy healer. I mean, not surprised, but not everybody is open to energy work, especially for children. So it was really amazing to. I was actually quite honored to be doing this, because I have two teenagers myself. So I was like, yes, of course, just I would have done it for free, even, because this is so important.
Yeah.
The young people, if the young people are aware of energy, what energy work can do, because Access bars is like energy work. It's like Reiki. Reiki is all energy. We are all energy. So, whatever we do with our hands, as long as we work with intention and come from the heart,
Mm.
you are working with energy. And the younger they are aware of it, the better.
Yeah,
Imagine if school taught energy work and meditation, the world would be a better place, really.
exactly. There's a school in Auckland called Ficino, and I know that they used to teach meditation. In fact, there must be others because I've also had kids that come into my little cabin here
Mm,
and they'll see my singing bowl or they'll see my crystals and they'll sit down and they say, oh yeah, we do this with meditation at school. So there must be a few places that are starting to
mm.
bring that kind of awareness in, but I'm sure it's few and far between and not nearly enough.
I hope so, because it is what we should teach our children.
Mm.
It is a big piece missing. Well, we know the school system needs to be revamped, but yeah, I mean, even if they introduced a 10-minute meditation to start the day, it would be like just to get them in tune with themselves to start with,
Mm.
because with their bodies, how do I feel today? What emotions do I feel this morning? Where do I feel it? It would be like, I believe it would avoid a lot of anxiety and depression later on.
Yeah, I think so too. That's such a lovely idea. Imagine, I don't know about you, but when I went to high school, and actually I think all the way through school, a lot of our day would start with an assembly in a hall with just masses, everybody in the school in one space together. And you had to sit up straight and you weren't allowed to speak. And, there were all these rules, and then you had to sing this really dreary school song. If you were lucky, one of your teachers might have been a Beatles fan or something. Maybe you'd have something a little bit more interesting, but still,
Mm,
yeah. Imagine starting your day centering yourself and coming into stillness rather than having to be bombarded with, you know, 300 to 1500 other people's energy.
absolutely, and because that's what's if they can have that awakening, then they won't have to go, they would have to, life would be easier, if you know that you can go back to this connection, that you have your guides beside you. You're not alone, because I
That's
think
right.
a lot of teenagers feel quite alone in navigating teenage life. um because yeah, I wish I had those tools when I was growing up, because I went through my 20s quite asleep and unaware, and I went through both my pregnancies the same. And I wish I had that knowledge and awareness, and while I was pregnant, because, and I wonder how different my birth even would have been. I had two C-sections, so, which I didn't want, but that's what happened. But I think I was very much into the narrative of giving my power away to midwives,
Yeah.
telling me what to do and what I should be doing. And I think I completely forgot to tune into myself, and well, not forget, I didn't know. I just,
Mm.
that's what we did at the time. Just the best way I can describe it is giving my power away, and just not even think for myself, just following what I'm being told, which is crazy. Now that now I'm like, oh my God. So teaching kids to do this at a young age, would be really amazing. It's actually vital now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. and breath work too, I think. I used to teach as a midwife. And I looked after a lot of teenagers, and sometimes I'd make them sit on the ground and do the buzzy bee breath, hands over your ears and as you breathe out,
Yeah.
just and trying to encourage them just to spend, even 2 minutes a day just doing that, just to try and cut, because that breath in itself is a calming breath.
Yeah.
But just trying to bring something, because I was lucky that I did get opened to meditation through my pregnancy, by going to that course. And yeah, I think I was very fortunate, because I think that it definitely impacted how I labored. When it came time to labor, I was very focused on my breathing,
Yeah.
and I was very inwardly focused. So my labor was, a totally different experience, it sounds like, than yours. And, and I think I can put that down to just doing that meditation course.
Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately it also affects the babies in the womb as well. Everything really. So
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I also gave some breathing exercise to this young boy, because he said to me, I forget to breathe. So when he feels anxious and have panic attacks, it's like it's all the breath is just all stuck here. There's no movement, there's no circulation.
Yeah.
And, yeah, what we do is touch, but it's also breathing. It's
bringing awareness, isn't it, to your body?
yeah, and it's everything as well. It's what you eat as well. It's what the amount of water that you're drinking. That you need to look at everything. It's a whole. Like it's more than just touch. It's more than just breathing. It's really that's why it's so holistic.
Yeah.
And I believe that if they taught that at school, it would be just amazing.
And so, okay, so tell me a little bit more about what you've tried along your journey, because there's so many different ways to come into your awareness, and there's so many different modalities that people offer. And because you have come to quite a few of your own, I would imagine you've probably experienced quite a few different types. Were there some that you just were like, that was nice, but it wasn't for me? Or
Yeah, so breath work. I've done a bit of breath work. It's actually very confronting. So, I'm not sure about breath work. I do my own, in my own space. I did some singing, like in a group, you just sing for like an hour. What else did I do? Well, quite a lot of energy work. Tried acupuncture. Yeah, different types of yoga as well. Because not all yoga is a bit different.
yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like the meditation, there's just so many different ways to experience that. But I love that you brought up the breath work, because I found it really confronting. I found that it opened up a lot of things very quickly. But it was very challenging and very emotional.
Yeah, I think for me, I block it because I've done this in group settings. So, more or less big groups. And I find that to me, it's very personal. So I find that when you've got people crying or yelling or howling beside you, and it's like, it's really like, you know, that's their journey. Like I'm quite private,
Mm.
so I don't like, sharing my my breakthroughs if it comes through as you know, quite raw. I don't like sharing it in a room full of people. Like, you know,
Yes.
like I'd rather do this in the privacy of my own bedroom. So, or you know, in nature, like I kind of, you know, I kind of actually talk like language when I go walk my dog, like in nature. I love walking in the forest. Like I'm quite lucky that I've got you know, quite a lot of forest near my house, and that's where I get my fix from, and that's where I'm getting some quite a big release as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's just talking to myself or talking to the trees, or but yeah, breath work is a tough one because I know it's very freeing, and maybe there's some work I need to, you know, that maybe there's some blocks I need to break there as well, I'm sure. But yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a toughie because I did something called the presence process, and inadvertently, actually, I started with the therapist because my daughter was seeing him. He did polyvagal theory kind of counseling,
mm,
and he worked with breath to get people into that polyvagal kind of awareness. And I loved the theory. I love the theory. Like Stephen Porges, who came up with the polyvagal theory, it was really onto something. And his wife did a whole lot of work as well on childbirth and all of the things that are going on in the body with childbirth. So I loved the theory of it. But
mm,
when my daughter said, I've had enough, I'm not going back there, I thought, well, I'll take her next session and I'll go and see this guy and have a go. And I found it really confronting, and I found it really hard to do it with somebody watching me. So I totally
mm,
get what you're saying. And then I did try and continue on my own, but essentially I'd just get to the point where I'd be doing the breathing for 10 minutes and then I'd be leaving and crying, and my nose would be blocked and I couldn't breathe anyway. And you know, it's a fairly miserable experience, and maybe I could have pushed through that, but I felt like there was a point where I was like, okay, I need to stop this and I need to go somewhere else now with that.
yeah. Mm.
Not the beautiful, calming picture of breath work.
No. Well, actually, that's breath work is actually quite can be quite violent. I think, you know, it can be quite, you know, things can big trauma can come out,
Yeah.
and I've seen it in those group settings of, you know, people, you know, really it sounded like they were in labor or in deep pain, you know, the sound that was coming out. I just couldn't believe it. Like it's also because it's you know, my personality. I'm not you know, I don't display yeah, big noises, like especially not in a group setting, but some people are just so, I don't know, like it's very interesting actually. I don't know if it's because they're letting go fully, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not letting go in that setting,
It's
or
hard.
I don't know, open, I don't know.
You do think sometimes it can be a little performative?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell, isn't it? Because some people just have a much more um external kind of way of being. What is that? So gosh, I'm losing all of my words. So you know, they're more outward in their action and their way of being, and yeah, and so they can let loose, and they almost maybe need the validation of being seen.
Hmm. Yeah,
Whereas there's lots of other people who are still, you know, really working within themselves, and to yeah, it
hmm.
feels very hard to me. I kind of see those group things as being really useful at times, but they can almost be re-traumatizing for some people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily believe that we need to go back to the trauma, like,
Mm.
and revisit, because it sounds sometimes that it's really like they're there,
Mm.
it's almost as they are back into whatever situations they got traumatized by. So yeah, I'm not completely sure that we need to go back there. Actually, a friend of mine, actually, that's another thing I've tried. She does EFT, which is tapping, the tapping uh, modality, I suppose. And I find that quite interesting because you do go back to a situation. So you do go back to a marker, or something that's happened that you remember. So you kind of relive it, I suppose. But then it's like reprogramming, uh, or healing whatever happened through tapping,
Mm.
and telling your body that you're safe, telling your body and your mind and your subconscious that that you're safe, and that so you basically, it's like deep healing. And I find that way more, I really like that way better than breath work.
Mm.
I guess it's more gentle as
Yeah.
well, although it can be quite confronting, and quite quite tough as well. But I find tapping, or EFT, I don't know if that's the same. She's French, so I guess it's the same in English, EFT.
Yeah, I think it's emotional freedom technique or something
Yeah. Okay.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's another because I think when you feel that you're with a trusted person, you can let go of some of the things. I still find that quite difficult. Um, I think I find it quite difficult to have other people witnessing as I go through something. I'm
Yeah.
a bit like you, I'd rather lock myself away and do it on my own. But obviously, there's a bit of a barrier there because it allows me to not push myself out of my comfort
Mm.
zone. And kinesiology is a little bit the same way, because there's a lot of talking. There's an element of you maybe having an affirmation or having something to say and
Mm.
having somebody hear you. And even though I found that very helpful, I actually find it quite intimidating.
Mm. But I think if you do that with someone who you don't know, because I find that, if my friend does EFT, so it's a friend and we've known each other for years, it's almost harder because, well, it is and it isn't, but when we go that deep into really such personal things, even your best friends, or even your friends, might not even know about, and sometimes it can be a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
know, we all have those things that happen to us, or that we did, or whatever, that can be a little bit, but it's actually really, it really needs healing.
Mm.
And so you don't necessarily want someone, a good friend, to know about these things. So opening up to a stranger is actually
Yeah.
sometimes easier.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it, that you can sometimes go and see somebody
Mm.
and just allow whatever has to happen there to happen, and actually have the freedom to think, well, I don't necessarily ever have to see this person again,
Mm.
even if they did an amazing job and they did exactly what you needed. Sometimes it is nice to not have that pressure or obligation to have to go back.
Yes.
Mm.
Or, that to know that they're holding a little secret of yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's really wonderful. I'm really pleased to have gotten a chance to sit down with you. You're
Mm.
number 2 on the list of conversations in this series.
Wow, that's awesome. I think it's great. I think it's an amazing idea because, we all have our own style of healing, and we all do different things, different modalities, and it's an amazing idea to gather up you know, what people do, and also to get to know someone, because, you know, I'm quite present on social media, you know, just because it's free marketing, and
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily need know that person behind the camera or behind the photo, or
Yeah.
it's quite
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that can be quite overwhelming, and often you put your best face out there, you know, you put out what you want the world to perceive
Mm,
you as. Um, and that might just be coming from a place of you know, I don't know, like sometimes the photos that we put, you know, I notice this when I have to choose a profile pic, and depending on what it's for, I choose my photo accordingly.
yeah.
And especially now that I'm getting older too, like the things that are important for people to what I want people to see of me is different.
Mm,
And I know that if I'm looking for somebody to go and see, I'm not necessarily looking for the most attractive photo of somebody. I just want to kind of get to know a little bit about them. I just want to know what kind of person they are so that I can say, well, I think I'd feel safe with that person.
yeah.
Whereas maybe this other person would be great for my daughter or
Mm,
somebody else I know. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Is there any last things that you would like to share so that people know? And apart from that, I'm going to find all your details and get them tagged underneath the video. So I'll
Yeah.
put your website and everything there.
Cool. Which has changed. So,
Just changed. Not borrowed by the
now. Yeah, no, I just well, I just want to thank you for, you know, for your time, and for, yeah, for doing this. And yeah, one last thing is just I don't know, I'm going blank now. I just yeah, if yeah, if you know, if you are, I just swear by meditation. Basically, that's, you know, this conversation made me go back to, you know, where I started. And it's interesting that, you know, you, as you go, you forget. And it was a good reminder for me, because it all started with meditation. It is the thing that put me into, you know, made me put me into my journey, in my healing journey, and healing others. So yeah, it's, if you know, that's my number one tool that I give to all my clients, is like, you know, I know it sounds cliche, but, you know, it really works.
I think sometimes things sound cliche because they're so very effective.
Yeah. And you would think, oh, meditation, really? You get something else? Like, you don't have anything, you know, a bit better, like a bit. But no, it's just simple meditation. It's, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, well, and now do you put any of your meditations out for people?
So I've only recorded about two meditations, so not a lot. And I did that because I wanted to, yeah, because, you know, finding my voice has always been something quite difficult for me throughout my life. So doing this was a big deal for me, and I
Yeah.
did that for me, really. Like, I didn't do it for, you know, I mean, obviously, if anyone enjoys, that's great. But yeah, only did record two. Maybe I should do that. I do more, but yeah, they are on my YouTube channel, which has like 4 subscribers or something like that.
That's kind of good. Sometimes I think that's good. There's less pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do love your meditations, by the way, Sarah. You've got such an amazing flow, an amazing voice for it. Yeah, you made for it. So
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. Well, I was going to say the same thing to you, Noelle, because I've really enjoyed the ones that you have shared on our
Oh,
meditation group. And yeah, I think we were talking a little bit about how energy works, and you know, not only when we're with one another, we are in each other's energy, but somehow when we're like this, we're sharing energy.
Yeah,
And you and I know this from doing the channeling, and we've done it through Zoom.
yeah.
Um, the amount of, love and
Mm,
incredible support that you can receive in a way from just listening to something, and how much is encrypted within our speech and just our what we're giving out. So yeah, I do love that. And I think that when you do meditation, so much of what you are comes through, and it's a really nurturing and loving energy to be in. So do
yeah.
more.
Yeah, well, thank you. Likewise. Let's do more.
Okay, it's a deal.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right, darling. Well, thank you very much. I'll stop the
Thank you.
recording, and I will definitely share all of your stuff so that we can get more people
Thank you.
to come and experiencing all that you are offering.
Thank
So
you so
thanks,
much.
Noelle.